I'm not a career politician, but I have managed budgets before. I have managed economies before. I have managed crises before.
That Ottawa's annual deficit is expected to balloon to $68.5 billion this year.
The parliamentary budget officer briefs a committee of MPs on his new economic and fiscal outlook.
I think everybody should be concerned. It's a really serious day.
How is it possible that any prime minister could have been more expensive than Trudeau?
So Canada's GDP remaining unchanged in November. In other words, it didn't grow. Is this a concern?
Well, yes, it is.
It's not enough to say, oh, we have a plan and not know how you're going to pay for it. Perhaps they don't want their broken promises and ballooning deficits to come to light.
In the ballot box, just like business, if you don't deliver after 2 decades, you lose your job.
Even the government's own fiscal watchdog says he's in the dark on this government's financial plans. He wouldn't even comment on whether the finances are sustainable. In the dark on how they're going to pay for nearly $500 billion. It's not enough to say, oh, we have a plan and not know how you're going to pay for it. Perhaps they don't want their broken promises and ballooning deficits to come to light. There is no private sector discipline here, only secrecy, broken promises, and no budget. What exactly are they afraid Canadians will find in the numbers?
The Honourable Secretary of State for the Canada Revenue Agency.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, last time I checked, I think we were elected on a bold agenda of change. To cut taxes, to fight against illegal terrorists, to bring this country together and build one strong economy. But, Mr. Speaker, the rhetoric I hear across, it's the same old politics the former member Pierre Poilievre of the Conservatives peddled for 2 decades. In the ballot box, just like business, if you don't deliver after 2 decades, you lose your job. He lost his job, Mr. Speaker. We have our jobs. We are elected. We are here to build the strongest, most resilient.
Ottawa's annual deficit is expected to balloon to $68.5 billion this year, something that will be fully revealed on Budget Day, November the 4th. CTV's Abigail Beeman digs deeper into the implications and what it means to you. Abigail.
Sandy, think of this updated financial picture as a scene setter heading into the upcoming fall budget, and it blames weaker economic growth and the trade war for the changed picture. The parliamentary budget officer briefs a committee of MPs on his new economic and fiscal outlook.
I think everybody should be concerned. It's a really serious day.
The report projects a sharp hike to the annual deficit from $51.7 billion last year to $68.5 billion this year.
All of which will add to the cost of living for Canadians. Why is it? How is it possible that any prime minister could have been more expensive than Trudeau?
A large part of that is in response to what has happened, not by choice, but we had to be there for workers. If you're in the auto sector, the steel industry, in the forestry industry, you expect your government to be there.
I'm hoping that you've been well briefed, maybe consulted your officials, and that today is the day that you will answer the question and tell Canadians in what year you will balance the budget.
It's like you don't like my answers. It's not that it's the question that's wrong. You just don't like the answer. That's why I say I think Canadians at home watching understand we are in unprecedented time. And as the International Monetary Fund said, you need to use that fiscal capacity to build in this country, protect our nation, and empower Canadians.
So that wasn't an answer to my question. The answer to my question would necessitate a date or a year. So the question is, in what year will you balance the budget?
Like I said, I'm afraid you just don't like the answer, so you might want to change the question.
No, you're a minister. You're here to answer questions. I've asked a question and you're not answering it. You must have an answer. Your department is full of officials that go through all kinds of modeling and projecting. Your budget contains projections, but it doesn't go far enough out to maybe get to the year where the budget will be balanced. So what year do your department officials tell you the budget will be balanced?
Well, let me put that in context, and you might not like the answer anyway. But we live in probably the most uncertain time in the world. And that's why when you see in G7 countries, the reality now is that those who have the fiscal capacity are building their country, protecting their sovereignty, empowering their people. That's the best way for Canadians to grow our economy.
Okay, so since you aren't answering it, you're giving a response that isn't an answer. Am I to infer from that that there is no possibility under your government of ever balancing the budget?
Like I said, I refer to you. You can look at the fiscal framework. It's in the budget. We're living in very uncertain time, and I'm a responsible finance minister.
Okay.
And when you're responsible, you base your answer on facts. You base your answer on the reality of the moment.
Would a responsible finance minister answer a basic financial question?
Like I said, you've been asking the same questions, and you still don't like the answer.
No, you have never answered my question.
Well, it's that you don't like. Change the question, and you may like the answer.
No. You know, your parliamentary immunity allows you to do this. A regular witness this would actually be contempt of Parliament.
Well, that's your opinion.
The latest government data shows Canada's gross domestic product was essentially unchanged in November. That follows a slight decline of 0.3% in October. Contractions in goods-producing industries offset expansions in the services sector. With me now is Pedro Antunes, chief economist with the Conference Board of Canada. Hi, Pedro. Thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
So Canada's GDP remaining unchanged in November. In other words, it didn't grow. Is this a concern?
Well, yes, it is. In fact, I think the underlying trend over the entire year has been quite soft. And, you know, if you look at the level of economic activity in November, it's essentially unchanged from where we were at the end of 2024. So this tariff war that we've been facing, not only with the U.S., but also with China, as you just alluded to, this has had an impact across the board on Canada's industries. And the month of November was a slight decline. It does look like the quarter now, given Statistics Canada's preliminary estimates for December, it does look like we're going to see a quarter which is flat. And that's not a very good start to 2026, unfortunately.
What does this mean for the average Canadian living out in Ottawa or maybe in Alberta somewhere?
Well, I think overall the weakness in economic activity and the uncertainty really with respect to where we'll land on tariffs with the U.S. and our trade situation with the U.S., all of that has led to not only weak economic activity that we just heard from Statistics Canada, but also weak hiring and investment intentions. And this is a concern for essentially, you know, longer term economic performance in Canada. So, and of course, when you're talking about hiring, that is, you know, essentially reflected on wages and people's ability to buy and raise their income and revenue. So obviously, yeah, this is impactful for Canada's households. I think for now we're still expecting Canada's economy over the next year to tick ahead, not strong, but keep perhaps the pace that we've seen over the last year, and that would, I think, keep the Bank of Canada on the sidelines for now.
Mr. Speaker, last time I checked, I think we were elected on a bold agenda of change, to cut taxes, to fight against illegal terrorists, to bring this country together and build one strong economy.
This is a time for experience, not experiments. I'm not a career politician.
If you don't deliver after 2 decades, you lose your job.